And a warning, some of the information our next story has is going to be difficult for some of our viewers to hear. The country has been left reeling after two horrific incidents of gun violence right here in our nation, both involving children. On Tuesday, 9 people were killed, including the suspect in a shooting at a secondary school in Tumbler Ridge, a community of only 2,400 people in northeastern BC. And then a little bit closer to home, 2 children aged 10 and 12 in the Kitigan-Zibi community were killed in what police say was a murder-suicide by their father. With these distressing headlines in the media, how can parents support kids and youth who are struggling with their mental health in the wake of all of these tragedies? Let's bring in Benslin Averill now. She is a registered psychotherapist here in Ottawa, and thanks for coming in this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I think it's so critical to have you in here. You look at our headlines over the last couple of days, it's really difficult. It's a hard couple of new days. What's the most crucial first step that parents can take when you see information like this towards their children and the youth?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is really to assess how you're feeling as a parent. So taking the time, to reflect on, okay, based on what I'm hearing, how am I feeling right now? Am I angry? Am I feeling overwhelmed? Am I feeling hopeless with the situation? And then thinking about when you want to address it with your kids, reflecting on what is the main objective of the message that you want to send to them. Is it because they've asked questions and you want to reassure them and provide them with more support? Or is it also, or could it be that you're anxious and there might be, a tendency to want to overprotect and want to hold them close because of what's happening? So then sometimes that might even relay a little bit more anxiety, which wasn't necessarily your intention, but at times kids, they are perceptive, so they pay attention to changes in behavior quickly. So being aware of what exactly do you want to tell your kids? What is the message that you want to give them? What is the end goal? That can really help to determine how you approach the conversation.
And that end message that you have for the youth, for the children, does it differentiate based on the age of the children that you're talking about?
Yeah, it can be really different, right? Like if you, let's say you have a 5-year-old at home, they may not be aware of what's happening. What they might notice though, if let's say your behavior has changed at home, you might be feeling a little bit more overprotective and kind of hovering a little bit more and giving more hugs and loving on them. They might just be thinking, well, mom is acting weird, so what's happening? So they might not be aware of what's going on. But if they have asked questions, I think for kids around that age, let's say below 11, it could be providing them a bit more reassurance, because that's really what they're looking for. And at that point, it would be, okay, well, remember your school is safe, you are safe, like as adults, we're here to take care of you. Your teachers know what to do if ever something like that were to happen at your school. So really providing that reassurance for them to know that there are caring adults around them. But now if you have tweens or teens kids, they may have already seen the news, right? Like if they have access to a phone, or kids at their school or also talking about it as well, they may be aware of what's happening. So then at that point, the conversation is around, yes, a bit of reassurance, but also managing how they're feeling about the news as well. And there can be worries about this happening to their school. So maybe with them needing a bit of reassurance because of their age and their cognitive capacity, they have the ability to understand a little bit more what's happening. So paying attention to that and addressing their questions at that point.
So important based on who it is that you're describing these two. And, it's such an anxious time, and so many of us, even adults, are trying to wrap our head around all these situations. What are some certain things that we should avoid when we're starting these conversations with our children, with the youth in the community?
Yeah, and going back to our first step as to checking in as to how we're feeling, what you want to avoid as much as possible is not projecting your anxiety and your fears onto your kids, right? Sometimes we may want to get ahead of the news by telling them what's happening, but then they may not necessarily need to know all of the details of what's happened. So thinking back into the objective of the conversation, if your primary goal is providing reassurance, then tailoring the conversation towards that and focusing more on that as well. And also avoiding maybe sharing graphic details that may not be relevant for them to know at that time, or villainizing the person that may have caused the act at that point as well. So being aware of how you're sharing the message and what you're putting the emphasis on, because then, you know, you don't want to give the message that, oh, okay, well, if I'm not, let's say, feeling great, then does that mean that I'm gonna act this way, or am I gonna be displaying those same behaviors as the person that, you know, may have caused the act at that time? So being aware of those slight differences can make a big difference.
So important. Benson Averill speaking with her registered psychotherapist amongst all the tragedy we've seen over the last couple of days. We really appreciate you coming in and giving us some guidance during this difficult time.
Thanks for having me.
And a reminder, if you need support, the Distress Center of Ottawa and region is here for you 24/7. You can call them at 613-238-3311. For kids and youth in distress, the Kids Help Phone can also be reached at 1-800-668-6865. And if you are feeling suicidal and need urgent help, the National Suicide Crisis Hotline is always there for you 24/7. You can call or text 988 at any time.